God should not have to guess, right?
Yeah.
God should not have to guess. If he is truly God, he should know everything, right?
Okay, let's...
But according to the Quran, it looks like Allah had to guess. Allah did not know who were going to be the believers and who were the not believers.
Allah mentioned in the Quran for the hypocrite that take out of the content for your benefit.
Quran doesn't have a context.
Give me the main, the name of the surah.
It's called Arub.
Which one?
Arub.
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 No Arub vision. In Arabic.
He doesn't even know what Arub is.
No.
Be careful who you follow. Make sure the questions you ask of Jesus also ask the same questions of Allah. That in every case, Allah lacks knowledge, has to guess, he doesn't have enough money, has to get it from the Jews, he doubles it, which is usury, bid'ah, the very thing he says Muslims cannot do. And in every case, he wants sinners, purposely sinners, so that he can forgive them. My God, my God's nothing like that. And I love the fact that he came as Jesus Christ. Folks, that's all you need to accept is Jesus Christ. How Jesus didn't know the end of times, right? We talked about that, and we showed very clearly that Allah doesn't know the end of times either, and he doesn't know who the believers are and who the unbelievers are.
Yes, he needed to test people to know if they are the believers or not.
And listen, we went to 13 different verses that show over and over again that Allah does not know the end. Allah does not know who the believers are, who the unbelievers are, but Allah also has to guess, doesn't he?
Yes.
So Allah is not omnipotent. Allah is not omniscient. He also has to guess.
So, I think it's all right in one sense you don't know, but when you start guessing the things, it becomes bad.
It becomes bad. And why does it become bad, Hatun?
Because you are guessing and you got it wrong.
God should not have to guess, right?
Yeah.
God should not have to guess. If he is truly God, he should know everything, right?
Okay,
But according to the Quran, it looks like Allah had to guess. Allah did not know who were going to be the believers and who were the not believers. He had to test people, did he not? Now, we know that God does this, don't we? We don't have a problem with that God can test people.
I don't have a problem with that.
And we know that God already knows what their decisions are.
Yes.
But Allah did not know.
That is shameful
That's
of
what we
Allah.
saw before.
That is shameful of Allah.
We would never say that about our God. Our God knows everything, doesn't he?
Your Jesus doesn't even know the fruit of the tree.
Are there other problems with Allah?
Even Jesus didn't know the last hour, but he knew what people were thinking, what people were speaking, and where were those people. He knew the impossible things. He knew what was in the hearts of the people.
And he couldn't see the whether it has fruit or not.
And we've got beautiful example of
Please move, please move, please move. Are you really upset? Can you see how the Muslims act now?
Guys, that is your Muslim brother. You need to challenge him the way he speaks. He might say same thing to your sister here. That is ugly.
But thank God we're not going to get violent here.
Okay. It wasn't only Allah didn't know the certain things, also shamefully, Allah was guessing the events. Okay?
So Allah was guessing.
Jesus cannot even guess
Hold on a minute.
whether a tree has a fruit.
If he is truly God, should he not know? Please put that in their way.
Don't film him say he doesn't like it.
Not every Muslim do I have to talk to. Why is it every Muslim I have to ask to move? Sir, can you move to the right, please? Move to the right, please. You're right in front of our camera. Okay, I want everybody to see this. This is what Muslims do every week. They try to block out our camera. They try to stop what we're saying. This is Speaker's Corner, for heaven's sake. Can we not see this here at Speaker's Corner? Are we not permitted to unpack the Quran like we're doing today? Why are you Muslims so angry? Stop getting angry, for heaven's sake. And you stop getting angry.
If he said no,
Smile, folks.
I am smiling.
You're not going to like what we're saying. We know.
We need more of you, though.
Every Sunday we come here and we get this attitude. But we love to do it, don't we? So let's continue on.
So, Surah 2 verse 74 tells us Allah was guessing the conditions of the human hearts.
Yeah.
Okay? So, can you read it for us? Can you read the verse for us?
Okay, Surah 2, Ayah 74. According to Pictel's translation. Then, even after that, your hearts were hardened and became as rocks, or worse than rocks,
So,
or hardness.
are the hearts like rocks or worse than rocks?
Looks like he didn't know.
They are two different things. Allah doesn't know, and Allah is just guessing.
He's guessing.
That is pretty shameful.
Either that or he's
pretty
correcting
shameful.
himself.
Jesus
Yes.
cannot even
He
guess.
doesn't share what
Very
he's really
shameful.
saying. But Allah is speaking here, right?
Allah can say your heart is like a rock, but he's saying your heart is become as rock or worse than a
Or
rock.
worse than rocks.
They
So
are
he's
two
not sure.
different-
He's guessing.
He's
You're right.
guessing. That is bad thing
Let's
to
go to
do.
Surah 2, Ayah 246 to 252.
Yeah.
When Talut set forth with the armies, he said, Allah will test you at the stream. Now we know that this is probably, who is it that tests at the stream? Oh, who is it that tests people at the stream?
I don't know. Every time to
Gideon. This is Gideon, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Oh, Talut, is
yes,
that Gideon?
yes. They are,
So this is Gideon.
they got
Where
the
did
wrong
Talut come
story.
from? Talut is not Gideon.
They got the wrong story.
They got the wrong story with the wrong man, doing the wrong thing. So
Gideon
here's
and
Talut.
Saul. Gideon and
He
Saul.
said,
Gideon and Saul, Jay.
Allah will test. Wait a minute. Gideon and Saul.
Samuel Davis.
There's many years between them.
It gets
Gideon and Saul didn't live at the same
no,
time.
it gets the story wrong.
It's got the wrong men doing the wrong thing at the wrong time in the wrong place.
Yeah.
This is typical of the Quran.
Yeah.
Allah will test you at the stream. This is Talut Smith. If any drinks of its water, he goes with the army. Only those who taste not of it go with me. A mere sip out of the hand is excused. But they all drank of it except a few when they crossed the river.
So,
Okay, Hatun, unpack that for
here's
me.
the problem. Here's the problem. First of all, it is wrong people, wrong time, wrong place.
Okay.
But as it says, except a few, when we look at the tafsir tells us 310 people. 310 people are a lot.
That's a lot of people.
They're not few.
That's right.
They're not few.
So that's a problem already.
Allah doesn't know the numbers, and he's just guessing the numbers.
He's guessing that he doesn't know what the real number is,
Which is shame.
which is a shame, really. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, and it's not only this verse. We look at the Surah 12, verse 20, and then we see Allah does the same thing in the story of Joseph.
Okay? The brethren, the brothers of
Yeah.
Joseph,
Yeah.
sold them for a miserable price, for a few dirhams counted out. Such low estimation did they hold him.
So, we know the story from the Bible, and God of Bible gives us the number.
Yes,
How
in
many
Genesis
shekels?
37, verse 28, it says 20 shekels.
So, Bible tells us it is a 20 shekels, yet
20
Quran-
shekels is an exact number.
Yeah.
The Bible knows it exactly how much he was sold.
Yet, in the Quran, Allah is guessing by saying a few dirhams.
So a few dirham, he doesn't know.
He doesn't
So
know.
the Quran doesn't know how much Joseph was sold for. The Bible knows exactly
Yeah.
what he was sold for. We do know there were no dirham at the time of Joseph, but shekels is the right currency that was used. And 20 shekels, according to the Newsy tablets, is what the price of a slave would have been in 1900 BC,
Yet,
1800 BC.
According to Quran, it was only for a few dirhams. So
For a few
Quran,
dirham.
out of the Quran,
The dirham were
does
invented
not
in the
know.
7th century AD. How could you have dirham at the time of Joseph?
I'm not even going to go
We're
to that.
not even going to go there.
But it
So
is
the
clear
question
that
is-
out of the Quran does not know
He doesn't know. He's guessing.
how many dirhams or how many shekels was it.
Even Moses, who was living in 1400 BC, 400 years later, knew exactly the price of Joseph.
Yet Moses was only human beings.
He was
and
only a human
Allah is the creator of everything. Yet Allah does not know.
He just guesses. Moses, a human, doesn't even have to guess. He knows the exact number. He knows exactly what he was sold for, and it's 20 shekels. Oh, I love my Bible.
That happens-
And I love my God.
That happens when the true living God inspires mankind to write the things down. But because Allah is false God, Allah is not only not know what kind of dirham is it or what kind of money is it. He's just guessing with a fee, and 20 is not a fee.
Do you know that there were no dirham at the time of Muhammad?
Yes, I do know
when
that.
the Quran was revealed. The dirham were only introduced in the 650s. Muhammad died in 632. So how could you even have dirham in the Quran if it comes from Muhammad? Oh, we're getting into a whole nother world.
Knowledge
Let's
of
come back
Allah.
to this.
Knowledge of
Nonetheless,
Allah.
it looks like he's really guessing at this time.
That's
he's got
not
the
good.
wrong currency. He's got the wrong price. He's got the wrong time with the wrong person.
Anybody believe in
I
what
love
he's
my
saying?
Bible. We've got the
Excuse me,
right man
sir.
at the right
Can you
thing
ask
doing the
people
right
if
thing
they
at the
believe
right
what he's
time.
saying or not?
All those surahs
Excuse
are
me,
come
can you
from
make a
the
statement
Quran.
here, sir? Anybody believe what he's saying?
If Muslims don't believe in Quran, we cannot do anything else. What else we are gonna do?
Give me the what's name. What's
You
name?
see, this is really
Can
good.
you repeat
What's
it?
name?
1220.
And
No,
the
no,
thousands,
name,
the
name.
thousands who are hearing this, let's see how many of them believe.
Sister, give me
The Muslims already are having a problem.
Yeah.
They want a popularity contest now.
Give me the name of the verse, please. Give me the name. I'll tell
Okay,
you.
so
Nobody
let's
believes
look
his
at the
answer.
Surah
Sorry.
13,
Nobody
verse
believes your story,
2,
sir.
2 and 4, which
Surah
comes
30,
You are a
ayah
bad
2 to
teacher.
4.
You are a
which
bad
comes
teacher.
from the
What's the Surah
Quran,
name? What's
which
the Surah
comes
name?
from the Quran.
Go look it up, Surah 30.
Yes.
The Romans have been defeated in a land close by,
That is very good sign.
but they, even after this defeat of theirs, will soon be
You are
victorious.
taking out of the
Within a
content
few
for your
years.
benefit.
They don't know whether or not what the year was.
So when we look at this
This is
surah
the
in the
hypocrisy. This is the
tafsir,
hypocrisy.
Tafsir tells us-
Allah mentioned in the Quran for the hypocrite that take out of the content for your benefit.
Quran doesn't have a context.
Before
We
and
are
what's
taking the
after.
contents
No,
up.
exactly.
Quran you got,
Don't get so upset.
Give
How
me
many
one.
Quran
Give
you
me
got, sir?
one.
My
Give me
goodness
Quran.
me.
Give
How
me
many
the name
Quran
of
you
the
got,
verse.
sir?
Give me the the name of the surah.
It's called Arub.
Exactly. Which one?
Arub.
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 There's no revision in Arabic.
He
What's
doesn't even know what Arub is.
No.
Surah 13,
What does that mean?
Okay, here we go. Surah 30. Arub.
Surah
So
13,
Arub is what? Should I get upset with your accent?
Exactly. No, you
You don't speak English very well. Oh, I don't understand a word you're saying. Suddenly now he doesn't know, I don't know what he's saying. Because he has an accent.
Do you know
Damn me for having an accent.
American.
Oh, he doesn't like my American accent.
They will hate it.
Okay, here we go.
Do you
But
know
actually,
the Arabic?
Arub is
I'm not
actually
an
Hindi
English
accent.
man, but do you know the Arabic? You don't know how to
Surah
pronounce
13,
the right word.
So now we have the
13.
right name for the right surah, and he doesn't like my accent.
am
He doesn't like the way I
no one
pronounce
likes
it.
your accent. You're American.
And you see, he doesn't like me being an American.
Surah 13, verse
Always like this. This is all they have. They hate Americans who speak English and have an accent. I hate them. We must stop what we're saying. Let's get back to this.
Surah 13, verse 2 to 4
Yeah, go ahead.
tells us,
what's the name of
tells
the
us within a
What's the
few
name of the
years, they're going to defeat the Byzantines.
don't know. I don't
Okay?
know. Are
you Christian or
that's
are you-
that.
So, in Surah Ar-Rum, which
Yeah.
is Surah 30,
13,
it
verse
says
2.
that within a few years.
Yes.
Now, Ibn Kathir talks about this, doesn't he? In the
Yeah.
tafsir. He
So-
unpacks it. Let's go to Ibn Kathir and see what
Actually,
he says.
this is the very surah which confirms Allah is pretty bad God. But
Wait,
I'm
where
not
are you
gonna go
from?
to that.
What are you, Christian, Jewish?
I'm
Why?
Christian, sir. I believe in God. I
You
believe.
love Jesus, don't you?
You know, it's better you study the
Thank you.
Quran
No,
and
carry on,
So-
carry on. Don't stop here. Carry on.
In Surah 30 verse 2, Tafsir tells us that Tafsir tells us in
comparative
a few
study.
years,
Madam,
Allah is
excuse me.
saying it's
Do the
3
comparative
to 9
study
years.
And then comment
But
on
we
anything.
know when this happened. It happened in 630 AD.
Yeah.
So how come Allah didn't know this?
So we see Abu Bakr, who is the father-in-law of Muhammad, goes and makes a bet regarding this few years. It's going to be only 5 years. Of course, what happens? Abu Bakr loses the bet, and then after 6 years, it happens.
Okay,
Event takes
let's read it.
place.
Let's read what it says in Tafsir Ibn Kathir
Yeah.
about Surah 30, ayah 20, ayah 2 to 4, which is Arum. They were defeated and then they were victorious. Set a time limit for that. And if we prevail, we will get such and such. And if you prevail, you will get such and such. So he set a limit of 5 years. And they, the Romans, did not prevail. Abu Bakr mentioned that to the messenger of Allah, and he said, why do you make it less than? I, the narrator, think he meant less than the 10 years. Sa'id ibn Jubair said,
this is everything in
means
Quran.
less than 10.
This is
Then the
everything in
Romans
Quran.
were victorious. The Muslims wanted the Romans to prevail over them.
Arabic
That
has
means
a
the
different
Persians,
translation,
because
which
they were
translates
both
it to
people
English.
who followed the book. In bid years, in so many years, some of the Quraysh said to Abu Bakr, this is a bet between us and you. Your companion, go ahead.
Just a minute. Abu Bakr, who is the first caliph, father-in-law of Muhammad, make a bet which is illegal in Islam, but he thinks it's all right to make a bet.
That is haram.
That is haram already.
So already we know that the second caliph, actually the first
First caliph
caliph,
Abu Bakr is the...
Abu Bakr,
Yeah.
already is doing something haram. This is a bet between us and you.
And
Your-
Muhammad is all right with that. That's like
He's right there,
awful.
he doesn't say anything about it. Your companion claims that the Romans will defeat the Persians within 3 to 9 years. What do you think? Means something between 3 and 9 years. So let us agree in the middle. So they agree on 6 years.
Sister,
Then
give me
6
the
years
source.
passed without
Give me
the
the
Romans
source
being
where you are
victorious.
getting all this
So the
information.
idolaters took what had been bet
Where
with
is the
Abu Bakr.
source? Where is the source?
Then the 7th year came,
Where is
and
the
the
source?
Romans were
Hey,
victorious
hey,
over the Persians.
donkey,
The
hey,
Muslims rebuked Abu Bakr. We already told you the source.
Tell it again.
This is Ibn Kathir.
Tafsir.
What source is
He doesn't know who Ibn Kathir is.
Tafsir of the Surah 30 verse 2 to 4. Tafsir of the Surah 30 verse
This is
2
the
to 4.
commentary by Ibn Kathir on Surah 30, ayah 2 to 4. Let's continue on. So they cannot decide what the years are. Is it 10? Is it 5? Is it 6? Let's continue on. When the 7th year came and the Romans were finally victorious over the Persians, the Muslims rebuked Abu Bakr for agreeing on 6 years. He said, because Allah said, indeed years.
He doesn't
At that time,
understand. We
people,
don't understand.
many people became Muslims.
So here what happens. Abu Bakr, who is the first caliph, thinks it's all
Talk as if
right.
you're talking to me.
Thinks all right to make a bet regarding the how many years it's gonna take. Abu Bakr makes a bet. Muhammad is okay with that.
Yeah.
And what happens is Abu Bakr loses the bet
Yeah.
because it doesn't happen. They don't win the war.
Yeah.
And what happens is verse comes actually. Why did you say 5 years? It is more than 5 years.
It's more than 5 years.
Yeah,
It
so-
looks like they cannot make up their mind. So the tafsir, the commentaries on these verses show that there's a real problem. Allah really doesn't know. He's just guessing.
He's just guessing, which
He's
is
just guessing.
disgraceful of
Another
Allah.
example where Allah cannot be God.
Yeah.
All right? Let's go on to Surah 37, ayah 147. And we sent him on a mission to 100,000 men or more.
So this,
Wait, is it 100,000 or is it more?
this is the story of Jonah. And when Jonah goes to Nineveh to bring people. So Bible tells us number is 120,000 people.
Yeah.
يلا حبيبي شلونك؟
Yet Allah says it is 100,000 or more.
So it's not
Allah
sure.
doesn't know again.
Why does the
Allah is
Bible
just
have
guessing.
it correct?
You're laughing.
120,000, whereas the Quran or Allah in the Quran does not know how many years it is. 100,000 or more. So he's just supposing. He's estimating. He's guessing.
Which tells us actually Allah is not all knowing.
He's not all knowing
Allah is
again.
not all knowing.
He's all guessing.
Yeah.
Okay, we can call Allah the all guesser. Surah 53, ayah 1 to 9. By the star when it goes down.
Hold on a minute. By the star means Allah is swearing on the stars.
Okay.
Allah is swearing on the stars.
Where are you getting this
Stars
bullshit from?
are what the pagan are worshipping. Why creator of everything is already swearing on the star? What pagans are worshipping.
Okay, now we know, folks, this is technical. We're going through it. This is mainly for the people on the internet to hear this. We know there are going to be guys like this who are going to try to interrupt us. That's normal. But it's not for you guys that we're doing it. It's for the people in the camera. So that's why we're unpacking it
That's fine.
surah by surah by surah. Because Muslims need to unpack this. This is their Quran we're going to. This is their tafsir we're going to explain what the Quran's saying. That's why they don't like it. They get upset with it. And that's why you're already getting violence over there with the Muslims again. Okay, don't worry about the Muslims. They're always going to be violent. Let's stay here.
Okay?
So by Surah 53, ayah 1 to 9.
Can you read the
by the
verse for us?
star, when it goes down,
Yeah.
your companion is neither astray nor being misled. Nor does he say, don't worry about it, aught of his own desire. It is no less than inspiration sent down to him. He was taught by one mighty in power.
Yeah, continue.
Let me turn my page.
Sorry.
Everybody goes over there to see what the violence is. It's always Muslims who do the violence. Endued with wisdom, for he appeared in stately form while he was in the highest part of the horizon. Then he approached and came closer, and it was at a distance of but 2 bow lengths, or even nearer.
So, was the distance var the 2 bow lengths, or was it nearer than that? So Allah doesn't know. Allah doesn't know it, but Allah is just guessing.
Okay, let me just stop here. I want you to turn over here. This is a convert from Islam. He is a Christian convert from Islam. His name is Christopher. He is a Kurdish convert. He left Islam, and this is what the Muslims are doing to him. Because he has left Islam and become a Christian, they're telling him to go home. This is what Muslims do when they find someone has left Islam here at Speaker's Corner. Okay, let's continue.
So, let's look at them.
Okay, back here again now.
Let's look at the other verses which confirms actually Allah doesn't know, yet Allah is just guessing the things.
So here's another one. Surah 56, ayah 10 to 40. And those foremost in faith, that is, will be foremost in the hereafter. So those who have the most faith will be the ones that will be welcome to the hereafter.
So, in Surah 56, verse from 10 to 14, we read in verse 11, a good number of those people, a few of them. Yet when it comes to the verse 40, it says a good number of them. So is it only few number of them, or is it big number of them? So Allah is confused. Allah doesn't know.
Allah doesn't know. Okay, if some of the Christians could go and help him out, just make sure he's all right.
I will help you.
Yeah, but not you, not the women. You go help him. You go help him.
I just need you.
No, Swami, not you, not you. Let the guys go there.
Excuse me. On
Guys,
behalf of Islam, I say sorry.
Yeah, police is here.
And I talk against you,
You ready?
Yeah, they're with him. He's fine now.
You ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Hatun, we've gone through quite a few things about Allah today, haven't we?
Yes.
We've talked about the problems with Allah. We looked at the difficulties.
Just a moment.
Take a picture of this. Take a picture. Of this.
Take a picture.
Okay, what's happening here? There's the man that was assaulted. Notice the crowd of Muslims that are following him. They were taunting him. And there's the guy that's following him. He wants to try to say that he's as much as evil as the man that was hit. That's Christopher, our friend, who has been up on the ladder and has given his beautiful testimony of leaving Islam and becoming a Christian.
Isn't that amazing?
Just look at the crowds here. All these Muslims. When we were talking about them, Hatun, they started taunting him and they started laughing at him when he said that he got beat up.
Yeah, I noticed that those people were like only as young 10 years old.
Abusing and speaking vilely of Muhammad in a way.
Oh dear. Next week we're going to hound you on this one. You're going to come next week. I'm going to put her up. We're going to go through each one of her. We're going to open up, and we're going to open up actually what she wrote. No, we're not going to. We're going to come in, and I want you to come here. Come here next Sunday.
I would challenge you to a public debate.
On what she wrote, and we're going to show you what she wrote, and we're going to see if she's a Nazi, if she's an extremist, and we're going to. You said she was a Nazi. We haven't recorded. You said she was a Nazi. You said she was a hate preacher. We're going to read what she wrote and see if the crowd agrees with you. Next week, come here next week.
Isn't that
Next week.
amazing? Islam cannot stand for the criteria. Isn't that amazing? Muslims tells us Jesus didn't die. They accuses us with being committing shirk. Yet when you tell something them about from their scripture, they just cannot stand for the criteria. That's amazing. How sensitive is Islam
It
is.
is wonderful.
That's
Now,
very, very
Jay,
amazing.
will you accept
Sensitive
my
Paul
Islam.
Williams, we'll do a debate up here if you want to. We
No,
can
I
do a
want to
debate at
debate
Speaker's
with
Corner.
you or
At
with
Speaker's
Lizzie.
Corner, especially
What about
on
on the
what you
radio?
accused of her. But I want her to be here to defend herself.
Let's be clear what I'm
I'm gonna be
accusing.
here.
Let's be clear what I'm accusing
We already know what you are
Not
accused.
screeching, please. It's in my ear.
Paul,
Just
listen,
move
if you
away,
don't
sir.
like
Just
it, don't
move
get your
away.
own
Just
ladder.
move
Let us
away.
continue on.
What I'm
You're
saying
trying
is-
to interrupt this and trying
Jay,
to
what I'm saying is,
challenge me to debate.
I want
We're
to
going to be here next week.
publicly
Be here next week.
use you.
We
Of
will
course, I'm
unpack
here
it.
every week.
We will look at it and see at it, and then you look and see
Jay,
whether or
I
not
want to
she
discuss-
is a Nazi.
Yeah.
See whether or
She's
not
not a
she's a
Nazi,
hate monger.
but she
Look
is
and see
lying.
whether she's an
So you were
extremist.
lying last
Look
week
and
and you
see
think
if she
she's
even
a
lied on
Nazi.
what she said.
She's an extremist, as you are, Jay. I challenge you to a public debate.
Here's the
Do you
problem.
mind-
Extreme
excuse me, I'm
Muslims, sir,
saying
don't touch me.
something.
Extreme Muslim goes out
Jay,
and then
I
kill
challenge
those
you
who
to a
don't believe in
debate
Allah.
on the
Extremist
hate
Christians
preaching that
goes
your
out and
organisation
love
does.
their
I
enemy
challenge you
and
to a
pray
debate.
for those who
Okay, let's
persecuted
continue
them.
on with this. Paul
That's the difference between radical
doesn't
Islam
like
and
what we're doing. He called this hate mongering.
So
So
the
let's come
evidence
back to
that
Allah
he's a
again.
hate preacher.
Here we're going to
This
go.
afternoon,
We're going
he's a
to
hate
talk
preacher.
about who
Under
Allah
the
is.
cover-
Yes.
under
We're
the
going to
cover
ask
of
whether or not
Jesus' corner.
Allah
Yeah.
does know
What about you?
everything.
Will you-
Because that is always the accusation that's thrown at us.
Yeah, so we looked at the verses from the
Today,
Quran,
this afternoon, he's
and
on
then we
record
saw
as hate preaching
actually
again.
Allah doesn't know everything.
So he doesn't know everything.
Would you have
Does he
debate?
have to
Anyone
guess?
debate me?
Yes, he had to guess, and his guesses were wrong.
So here you have Allah. He doesn't know everything. The very same claim that they make of Jesus Christ, that he doesn't know the end of times. We have now gone through 13. In fact, there's a lot more than 13. We could have gone enormous in other ones. We could have gone over. There's about quite a few, about that many more that we could have gone through. But we went through those 13, right? And in those 13, did we notice that Allah does not know everything?
Quran teaches Allah does not know everything. Shame on Allah, he doesn't know everything, and he's just guessing about the things, and his guessing game is not going very well.
Okay.
So, Jay,
Then
I
we
challenge
also
you.
talked
Why are
about
you
that he had to guess.
Yes.
So in guessing,
Jay, if
he
you're
doesn't
a
know
great
everything
scholar,
as
you
well.
can
Yes.
debate me.
So by
Jay, you can
guessing,
debate
not
me.
only
Why
does
are
he
you
not
running
know
from a
the
debate?
future,
Why are you
he doesn't
running
know who
away?
the believers are. He doesn't know who the unbelievers are. Does God in the Bible know who the believers are?
Yes, God of the
Does God
Bible
in the
is very
Bible know
clear.
who the unbelievers are?
Yes, he knows people's heart, yet Allah needs to test people to know what is in
So
their
he
heart.
has to test them. And the reason he has to test them is because he needs to know who is going to be in heaven and who is not going to be in heaven.
Believers or unbelievers, yeah.
There we go. So now we come back and let's ask some other thing. Does Allah need money?
Jay Smith for a debate.
According to Islamic tradition, according to Quran, Allah is pretty poor, he needs some money. So, let's look at the Surah 2, verse 245. Surah 2, verse 245.
We will debate you next week. Come next week. We're going to unpack it next week, but not today.
Why not?
Let's continue on what
Why
we're
not
doing today.
Jay?
So,
Because
Surah,
What are
Lizzie
you
needs to be
afraid of
here.
today?
Lizzie is
What
not
are you
here.
afraid of?
I will bring Lizzie here,
talking
and
about
she will
you,
run
Jay.
circles around
You,
you.
Jay.
So let's go ahead and do this now. Okay,
Smith,
go ahead.
I
So
challenge
here we
you,
say,
Jay, to a
Allah needs money.
yes, according to
Allah
Surah
needs
2, verse 245, tells us Allah needs money. According to Quran, according to Quran, Allah needs money. Can you read it for
Now,
us?
here we
This
go.
week
First of
or
all,
next week?
why is it they ask this
that's why,
question?
Jay. So
What is it
next
in
week,
Luke
inshallah.
chapter 9, verse 58 that they always go to show that Jesus cannot be God? In Luke 9:58, they say if he is God, he should not only know the future, but if he is God, he should also not have to be
Not be
dependent
in
on
need.
other people.
Yes.
23 as well.
According to Muslims, if somebody is depending on something else, that makes them to be not be God.
And Luke 9:58 says,
Yeah.
foxes have dens, birds have nests, but the Son of Man, that's Jesus, has no place to lay his head. Therefore, how can he be God? That's the question they're asking.
Or other question comes, Jesus cannot be God because he was poor and then he had to escape to Egypt when he was child.
He was a refugee. How could
he
God be
wa-
a refugee?
He was need of the things. That's
God-
according to Muslims.
Yeah, God is omnipotent. God is all powerful. He does not have to depend on anybody. And here Jesus is not all powerful. Therefore, Jesus cannot be God.
Yeah.
So let's see if Allah has the same problem.
Answer to that question is, as we mentioned, God the Son incarnated and united in Jesus. God humbled himself, came and lived among us. Yet,
That's in Philippians 2,
Philippians
verse 6
2,
to 11.
Yet, Allah Allah is all-being, well-being according to Muslims, yet Allah is in need. Allah is in need of money. Surah 2 verse 245.
So open up your Quran
From-
if you're watching.
from the Quran.
Go to Surah 2, Ayah 245. Who is he that will lend God a good loan, and he will multiply it for him manifold? God grasps and outspreads, and unto you shall be returned. Well, what does this intimate?
When you think, actually, it's normal. Like they're saying, oh, Allah doesn't need anything. Allah, you don't need to give anything to Allah. But let's look at the things in the context. Look at the Surah 57 verse 11.
Who is he that will lend to God a good loan, and he will multiply it for him, and he shall be a generous, his shall be a generous way.
Again, second surah from the Quran is asking who is going to loan money to Allah.
Now, Allah, we have known that the Quran is clear. Surah 4, Ayah 116. It's very clear. The Quran is clear, does it not?
6114. 6114.
6114. Did I say 4116?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
epileptic.
fine. It's
What's the
fine.
right chanting? Surah 6, Ayah 114.
Yeah.
That the Quran is perfectly clear. But here you have God asking people for money, and if they give it to him, he will multiply it.
Or is it so? Maybe we got it wrong.
Well, Surah 3
So-
seems to answer this.
Yeah. Surah 3 verse 181 tells
Surah
us.
3, Ayah 181. God has heard the saying of those who said, surely God is poor, and we are rich. We shall write down what they have said, and they're slaying the prophets without right. And we shall say, taste the chastisement of the burning.
So, there are 3 verses in the Quran gives the impression that Allah is in need of money. Allah is pretty poor, he needs money. So,
Surely God is poor, and we are rich.
when we look at the commentaries, we see actually in 7th century, 8th century and 10th century, people understood that Allah was actually physically, like literally poor.
It's literally poor. And that's why the tafsir had to explain it.
Yes.
So what do the tafsir, now for those who don't know, the tafsir are the commentators. They are the ones that help unpack the Quran.
Yeah.
And these are the best of the tafsir. Said Ibn Jubair, let's look at his commentary. He said, according to Ibn Abbas, considered to be the best of the tafsir commentators. When Allah's statement, who is he that will lend to Allah a goodly loan so that he may multiply it to him many times, was revealed, and the Jews said, O Muhammad, has your Lord become poor so that he asked his servant to give him a loan? Allah sent down indeed, heard the statement of those who say, truly, Allah is poor and we are rich.
So it seems that people are already questioning, how can we lend money to Allah? Allah is the creator, yet you are saying Allah needs money. Are we richer than Allah? Is Allah poor? So in 7th century, 8th century, 9th century, 10th century, people interpreted verses that Allah is actually physically poor.
There you go. So this is the commentary on it of Ibn Abbas. Let's go see what his tafsir said. When Allah mentioned the Jews, Finis ibn Azura and his friends, when they said, O Muhammad, Allah is poor, he is asking us to give him a loan, say, verily, Allah heard the saying of those Finhas ibn Azura and his fellows, who said, when asked for the contribution to war, Allah forsooth is poor, he needs us to give him a loan, and we are rich, and we do not need a loan from him. We shall record their saying, we shall preserve for them what they have said in the hereafter, with their slaying of the prophets, and we shall say, taste ye the punishment of burning, which is very severe. So it actually admits it. It looks like this is a real problem for Allah.
So people are already hearing that there is a claim that Allah is poor, we are rich, and so verse comes, Allah says, oh, I heard what people are saying, and then commentary says, yes, Allah is, it says, Allah is poor, we are rich, are we going to give loan to money? How can human beings be richer than Allah?
So now we have Al-Wahidi, Asbab al-Nuzul. Here's again the same scenario, says the very same thing. The Jews come to Abu Bakr. Oh, Abu Bakr, you claim that our Lord is asking us to lend him our wealth.
So people understood when it says Allah is poor, people understood that actually, yes, Allah is asking physically to give him money, and he's going to give you multiplied.
Not just anybody, the Jews, to give him money, which is even more ironic. Yet it is only the poor who borrow from the rich. And if what you say is true,
That is
it follows that Allah is poor and we are rich.
So if Allah wants to get a loan from mankind, that means Allah doesn't have as much as mankind has, and then Allah wants to borrow from
Looks
them.
like Allah is begging from the Jews, according to Asbab al-Nuzul. And their Jews are saying, isn't this ironic? We are richer than Allah. Allah has to borrow from us, and He will repay us. He will repay us by doubling it. Now, what is that called?
Actually, that's haram in Islam.
That is haram. That is bid'ah.
And
That
it
is
is haram in
bid'ah.
Islam.
That is usury. That is interest. This is what we do here in England. We charge interest. So Allah is giving back interest. But I thought Muslims were not permitted to do bid'ah. This is against
So
Islam.
that is something Allah
Here
can
Allah
do.
is doing bid'ah.
Yeah, that is something Muslims can't do it, but Allah does it.
So Allah can do bid'ah, but we cannot do it. So it looks like the Muslims are given one rule, Muhammad is given another rule, and Allah follows a
another.
completely other rule.
Let's look at Ibn Kathir, because Ibn Kathir explains us a little bit more.
Okay, Ibn Kathir in about Surah 5, Ayah 64. Allah states that the Jews, may Allah's continuous curses defend on them until the day of resurrection, describe him as a miser.
What is miser, Jay?
Miser means someone who protects their money, doesn't spend it. They
So,
save and
you've
save.
got
They don't
money,
give it to anybody.
You've got money, you
Speak
don't want
louder.
to keep it to anyone.
Okay,
You
so
want to just keep it to yourself.
you keep it to yourself.
So that's
and as a
Allah is
result,
dying.
It's
Allah
called
is dying.
misering. Yeah, so they're misering. Allah is far holier than what they attribute to Him. The Jews also claim that Allah is poor, while they are rich. Ali ibn Abi Talha reported that Ibn Abbas commented on Allah's restatement. The Jews say Allah's hand is tied. They do not mean that Allah's hand is literally tied. Rather, they mean that He is a miser and does not spend from what He has. So not only is He poor, He is a miser, according to Ibn Kathir. Folks, it gets richer and richer as we go. And this is not our material. This is the Muslims' material.
It's from Ibn Kathir.
Ibn Kathir,
It
you
is
can't
from
get any
Ibn
bigger than
Kathir.
him. This is Ibn Abbas and Ibn Kathir. And we've talked also about Said ibn Jubayr.
Yeah.
Folks, can you see why we're doing this? Because the fact is, we need always go back to see how you understand these verses.
So we go back to the Tasfir, which
Can you tell me where I can
explains
find
us
that information, please?
We're giving it to you right now.
Ibn Kathir.
Where is it?
Just
Ibn
watch.
Kathir.
Film it right there. It's right there.
It is
Ibn Kathir, it's on Surah 5, Ayah 64. You can see it, you can get it. Go look at it, see if we're lying. We're quoting it verbatim.
Stay on the camera, Sean.
But Muslims, this is your own material.
so, according to Muslim materials, Allah is poor and He needs the money.
There you go.
Which is
So
sad.
Allah is poor. He needs to borrow from the Jews. The Jews give him money, and he
pays
doubles
back.
it. That's called bid'ah. So he actually creates interest himself.
So, Ibn Kathir tells us Allah is poor.
There you go. So we have now found 4 different commentators, 4 different tafsir that show how we're to interpret these verses. So now we know that Allah is poor, that the Jews are richer than Allah, that Allah needs the Jews for their money, that He then doubles their money for them, proving that He also participates in bid'ah, that He does usury, which is what interested we use today. Is that the only problem with Allah? See, does God need our money? Was Jesus poor?
Jesus was poor.
Jesus was poor.
When Jesus was born, his family was so poor, they went to temple to sacrifice the pigeons because they could not afford the lamb.
There you go. And Jesus, we know when He was a human, when God was human on earth, in the form of Jesus Christ, the foxes had places to lay their head, but Jesus did not have a place to lay His head. Luke 9 is very clear about that. But looks like Allah is even poor. Allah needs help. Oh, I love that. Thank God for Jesus. And thank God for His testimony. And thank God for His example.
Actually, it gets worse. Allah is not only poor, also Allah needs human beings.
Allah needs human beings.
Allah needs human beings to worship Him and ask for forgiveness to Him.
So Allah needs human beings to worship Him
And
and to ask forgiveness for Him.
Yes. So,
Guys, just move out of the camera. That's right.
So
here you have not only that He is poor and He needs Jews to help Him, but now He also needs to have humans sin for Him, and if they don't sin for Him, He
Allah
throws them away and gets other sinners.
So, Sahih Muslim tells us, can you read it for us?
Okay, Sahih Muslim 376621. I used to conceal from you a thing which I heard from Allah's messenger. And I heard Allah's messenger as saying,
You wrote that down.
What's going on, mate?
this is so typical of you Muslims. When you're hearing their thing, the only thing you can do is try to block the camera. But let's continue on.
Where'd you get
So
that?
this is Sahih Muslim, volume 37, hadith number 6620.
Sahih Muslim is one of your
Sahih,
hadith.
you don't know who Sahih Muslim is. You have no idea who Sahih Muslim is. So here we go. Sahih Muslim, volume 37, hadith number 6620. Here he says, Allah's messenger said this, had you not committed sins, Allah would have brought into existence a creation that would have committed the sin and Allah would have forgiven them.
So Allah is not complete being. Allah needs to destroy mankind who does not sin. Therefore, Allah needs to make people who sin so Allah can practice His forgiveness.
He needs humans to sin so that He can forgive them, according to Sahih Muslim.
According to Sahih Muslim, which is a hadith Muslims rely on, tells us Allah needs to make human beings which commits the sin.
Sahih 37 again, the very next hadith. Let's read what it says. Allah would have swept you out of existence and would have replaced you by another people who have committed sin and then asked forgiveness for Allah, and He would have granted them pardon.
So again, Allah needs Allah doesn't need people who are good and perfect, but Allah needs human beings who committed the sin. So Allah is not my God. Allah is not my
Thank
God.
God I don't have to follow Allah. It's so good to know that Allah is weak. Allah doesn't know the end of time. Allah is not only inept, Allah is deceitful, but also He needs our forgiveness. He needs our sin. Sorry, not our forgiveness. His forgiveness. Let's continue else. Even the Muslims are clapping at this. They finally get it. How hopeless their God is. Keep clapping. Keep clapping.
Let's continue to read from the Sahih Muslim.
Okay, here we go. Sahih Muslim, volume 37. Now we get to 6622, the very next hadith. Allah would sweep you out of existence and He would replace you by those people who would commit sin and seek forgiveness from Allah, and He would have pardoned them. So He's not satisfied with those who are good. He wants sinners, and He wants sinners, Hatun. It's because He needs sinners so He can forgive them.
So we see that it looks like Allah has image issues. You know, now like in England everything has been diagnosed. So Allah has the issues. Allah needs people who ask Him to forgive their sins. Otherwise, Allah is not complete. That Allah will destroy people who doesn't sin.
There you go.
That is shameful of
Now
Allah.
let me ask you, does God of the Bible, does He need sinners in order to use forgiveness?
No.
In fact, does God abhor sin? Does God hate sin?
God
Does God hate
hate
sin? God does not get rid of people so that they can sin. In fact, just the opposite. So there's another example where the God of the Bible is completely different than the God of the Quran.
God of Bible is holy. When one little sin made in His presence, He cast out those people from His presence.
So even one sin
even
destroys.
one small sin.
One sin is all it takes. God hates sin, does He not? And why does God hate sin?
Because God is holy. God cannot stand where there is sin practiced.
Habakkuk chapter 1 verse 13. It says very clearly that God cannot stand to have one sin in His presence. That's how holy God is. Yet here Allah needs to have people to sin for Him. He brings them in. He throws away the righteous, brings in sinful people so that He can give forgiveness for them. Completely different God than we're talking about in the Bible. Ooh, I love my God.
Which is shame of Allah actually.
It is a shameful Allah, is it not?
Because we just saw what sin makes people. Sinful people are just the people who just
beat up Christopher.
Beat up your brothers and sisters. Yet Allah needs those people to practice so Allah can practice the forgiveness.
Okay. Now, what have we done today? We're going to bring it down to a close today. But what did we show today? We've already showed a number of things, haven't we, about Allah?
So we looked at the Quran, and then we saw from the Quran, Allah is not all-knowing. We look at the Quran, and then we saw, because Allah is not all-knowing, Allah is guessing the things. As Allah guesses the things, Allah makes lots of mistakes. And then we saw, actually, it is the same Allah who is the responsible for all this creation. He's pretty poor. He needs money from other people.
Yeah.
That is very bad.
So in every case, when we've looked at the questions that they throw at Jesus Christ, and they do throw good questions at him, and they say Jesus cannot be God because he doesn't know the end of times. Therefore, only God knows the end of times.
Allah cannot be God because he doesn't know who are the believers.
Not only that, he doesn't know the believers or the unbelievers. He has to give them tests. He has to guess the time. He has to guess who's going to be a believer. He doesn't know the end of times, it looks like. He doesn't know who's going to heaven. He doesn't know who's going to hell. He needs money from the Jews. He has to get money from the Jews so that he can then double it, which is called bid'ah, which goes against his own revelation. And as we've seen here, he needs forgiveness. He needs to forgive people. He needs sinful people to forgive them. My God already has forgiven everybody. And who does my God, who does the God of the Bible forgive?
Lord Jesus Christ.
He is it. But who does he forgive?
All the sinners?
All the sinners.
When
It is the
those
sinners he forgives.
repents,
He doesn't create sinners so that he forgive them. He forgives them, does he not? And that's why we go to Jesus Christ, do we not?
actually, when you look at the teachings of Islam about Allah, you feel sorry for Allah. He's not even complete.
Looks like a pagan god.
He's not complete. He's poor. He needs human beings.
He looks so pagan that actually is pagan. Because even the name Allah is a pagan god, isn't it? The name is actually a Nabatean god. A pagan god. Not only that, a pagan god from that has a wife named Allah, a female consort, which goes against Surah 6, Ayah 102. But that's for another day, that's for another time. This pagan god named Allah obviously is a very weak God if he doesn't know the end of time.
It's not the end of the time. He doesn't know who are the believers, who are the hypocrites. He doesn't even know what people are going to, what people might accept or
You
not.
correct me, and I thank you for that. It shows that he doesn't know the people's heart.
Yeah.
Did Jesus know the people's heart?
He did know what people think. He did know what people felt. He knew where people were going in somewhere else while Jesus was in somewhere else.
What did Jesus know about the Samaritan woman?
He knew about her past.
Not only that, he even knew how many husbands she had had. She had never told him this.
No.
So Jesus does know the hearts of people, doesn't he?
Yes.
Even something that Allah cannot do. Allah doesn't know the hearts of people. He doesn't know the believers. He doesn't know the unbelievers. Yet Jesus could he not?
He did know that. Yet said that Allah needed to raise people for Allah to know
I
that.
love Jesus. Folks, I hope you've seen what we've done today. And the reason we've done this, we're going to have to wrap this up. It's very important that you look and ask. When Muslims always attacking Jesus, as they have a right to do, and at Speaker's Corner you can ask any question you want. Here is the bastion of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
It was disturbed a little bit today. But when you ask this question, is Jesus God? Can he be God if he doesn't know the end of times?
Bible teaches us, yes, Jesus is God.
We know that when he came for 33 years, he humbled himself.
Yeah.
And in humbling himself, he took on human form, did he not?
Yes. Yet.
When he was up on the temple and he was being tempted by Satan, was that a real temptation?
Jesus didn't have sinful desires to go through, respond to that temptation.
There you go. And that means he was completely human, was he not?
He was completely human and perfect human.
Yet he was also completely God.
He was completely God and perfect God.
Can you defend that? Can you define it? No, we can defend it. Can you actually explain that? No, we can't scientifically. But what we do know, he was 100% God and 100% human.
There is nothing in this world like God. God is unique. That's what makes him God.
And as a result of that, we know
Yep.
when we compare him to Allah, in every case, Allah fails. In every case, Allah is diminished. He doesn't know the end. He doesn't know.
Yeah,
We're going to wrap it up now. And what we're going to do is say this. Be careful who you follow. Make sure the questions you ask of Jesus, also ask the questions, same questions of Allah. We've done that today.
Yeah.
And we noticed that in every case, Allah lacks knowledge, has to guess, he doesn't have enough money, has to get it from the Jews, he doubles it, which is usury, bid'ah, the very thing he says Muslims cannot do.
Yeah.
And in every case, he wants sinners, purposely sinners, so that he can forgive them. I love my God. My God's nothing like that. And I love the fact that he came as Jesus Christ. Folks, that's all you need to accept is Jesus Christ. You don't have to become a sinner to be forgiven. You already can be forgiven. And there's only one way, there's only one thing you need to do. Accept that Jesus died on the cross and rose again. Then he did that. And that's all the cost that it takes. You don't have to pay a thing. You don't have to become a sinner and then not a sinner and then a sinner again. Just accept that Jesus died for your sin. And by dying for your sin and rising again, he destroyed death. And he made it possible for you to be with God again on the other side of life. I want to see you there. I want to see you walking and talking with God. And I want to be with you. And Hatun wants to be with you, don't you?
Yes, we all want to be with God and be with one another. But our aim is to be with God.
To be with God. A little bit of our steak on our plate while I wait, but I can't wait for the pie in the sky when we die. Amen. Folks, come on home to Jesus Christ. We'll see you next week. God bless you.